The Switch has given Bayonetta and its sequel a platform that it can finally flourish on. But can the old witch and her sequel still deliver a great game though? We take a look in our review of both Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 for the Nintendo Switch.
John, I'm on my way. Just behave yourself for a bit longer.
The original Bayonetta is a game that, despite its wonderful gameplay, faced many issues at launch. For those of you, like me, who played the original on the PS3, its choppy frame rate and lengthy load times were major issues. Thankfully though, the Switch version fixes all of this while still retaining the same fantastic moment-to-moment combat. If you've been unaware of the hack and slash series, Bayonetta allows you to live out your fantasy of being a shape-shifting witch who uses her heels as exclamation marks on an enemy's head while never letting down her stylish approach. As you progress through the game's chapters, you'll get more and more familiar with its combos that always deliver a satisfying and thundering impact whenever you've got one of the game's numerous demonic creatures on the ropes. Despite load times being reduced so much so that you're no longer able to practice combos between chapters, like you could in the old versions of the game, you'll meet with enough enemies at both ends of the difficulty spectrum that you'll quickly find your own way of ending battles.
No, you get one thing straight. I'm not the slightest bit interested in the fact that you made these guns. If you get in my way, I will... How do the Americans put it? Oh yes, bust a cap in yo ass.
Right on, baby. Right on.
For a game that's almost 10 years old, the original still wows at certain moments with the sheer scale of some of the enemies, with a number of them towering over our lowly heroine. It's a testament to how well the original game was made that Bayonetta is still one of the best examples of a genre that has, sadly, declined in recent years. There are camera issues here and there, especially those of you who will want to explore the corners of the linear chapters, but it's a minor gripe for a game that runs well otherwise.
I know better than to tell you a damn thing. I'll never hear the fucking end of it.
The sequel to Bayonetta is arguably the reason that most people will pick up this duo of games on the Switch. A Wii U exclusive, Bayonetta 2 didn't set the sales charts alight when it released back in 2014, despite being a critical success. After spending a number of hours with the original, the first thing that's noticeable with the sequel is just how colourful the game is. Its vibrancy really pops on the Switch's screen, and it's a trend that hopefully continues with Bayonetta 3. The sequel's combat doesn't deviate too much from the original, but adds to it with a plethora of different weapons, transformations, and a new Umbran climax which allows you to smash your opponents with giant fists and feet that is oh so satisfying, especially when you're in a bit of trouble. Bayonetta 2 is a safe sequel, but when the original game is so good, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It offers another linear hack and slash experience that focuses on providing defined combat mechanics in scenarios that make the player feel empowered, even if you're facing an enemy who's the size of your house.
So close.
When it released on the Wii U, it was one of the best games on the system, and right now, you have to say that the sequel is one of the best games on the Switch, even though the latter's library is arguably significantly stronger than its predecessors. It's a testament to how good Bayonetta 2 was then, and still is now, as to why I hold it in that higher regard.
At least your lot still knows how to make an end.
In addition to the improved load times and frame rate, the Switch version of both games also comes with touchscreen controls that allow you to tap to attack or swipe to evade. It's a more simplistic option for casual players who prefer an easier difficulty. It allows more people to play the game in a fashion that's better for them. Having the option won't affect those who prefer buttons and a more intricate challenge, which both games will certainly provide. While there isn't any support for amiibos in the original Bayonetta, The sequel allows you to use up to 32 amiibo a day in order to acquire extra items that can help you on your journey. Both games also take advantage of Switch's video recording, a feature that has so far been rare in the Switch's library. The Switch version is, without doubt, the best version of both Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2. In a world where open world games are king, it's nice to settle down on a handheld system and power through a chapter or two at a time. However, both games are still wonderful examples of how to do scale correctly in a video game, and despite the slightly dated visuals on both games, the smooth frame rate and almost non-existent load times combine to create two games that you should play if you haven't already.
But I don't believe in sin!
Watch your mouth, Itto.
Both Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 are fantastic games in their own right, despite being more than just a few years old. In the Switch, both have found their true home and complement the system perfectly, so it's only right that the best version of both games is found on Nintendo's portable console. If you haven't already played them, these two deserve to be in your Switch library.